right, so as everybody knows, Fatal only met Pac in late 95 after he got out of prison. Okay, so once Pac was released, Fatal was brought into the Outlaws, and he wasn't an outlaw anymore by the time Tupac died. He was kicked out of the group. As most of y'all know, Tupac had just gotten a new car. I think it was a Mercedes truck or something like that. And anyways, they were out drinking, and Hussein Fatal took his keys and went out when Pac was passed out, and he wrecked his car and messed it up. And Tupac got pissed off when he woke up, kicked him out of the Outlaws, sent him back to Jersey. So he was not in Jersey he was not in Vegas when Tupac was killed. But, he has done several interviews, and I'm going to put some links below if you want to check them out, where you can hear Hussein Fatal himself say that, what happened to Tupac was pretty plain and simple. It was, a retaliation for the beatdown. He doesn't like to talk about it. He says in the interviews he doesn't like to talk about it. But, in one interview, for example, they said, what do you believe with this theory of Suge Knight and all this? And he pretty much says that it's stupid. Obviously, I don't think anybody really believes the Suge Knight theory anymore, but, he said it's pretty stupid, especially Suge sitting right next to him when Bullet's about to be getting shot in the car. But that being said, Hussein Fatal comes straight out and he says, what do I think happened to him? They jumped on that dude at the MGM, and he did what Bloods and Crips do, and he retaliated. He said that they caught him on the strip and they shot him, and that's what happened. He says it in a couple different interviews. I'll put all the links down below. But it's just something else to kind of back us up. I feel like majority of the people who really knew Pac, they're not, a lot of them aren't going to come out and say it just because they don't want to give any attention to it. But the majority of them don't believe in these conspiracy theories. Some of them might think the police were in on it or behind it, in the sense of they didn't really do a good job trying to solve it, at the time back in 96. But as far as the police setting it up, that's, like they say, that's fun. These conspiracy theories are fun, if you want to, have something to look into and research and give yourself something to do. But the reality is that's not what happened. Okay. So, I can pretty confidently say, and again, this page is full of haters. I call them, they're basically Tupac assassination trolls. And the thing is the Tupac assassination trolls don't even really support Tupac assassination. Because I'll tell you this, the people right now who support Tupac assassination 1000% are the same people 3 years ago that supported Tupac assassination 1000% when they were saying for sure that Suge Knight had Tupac set up and killed. Okay, so these same people were 1000% sure that Suge Knight had Tupac killed just a few years ago. Tupac assassination switches up their theory, full 180. Suge goes from being the mastermind behind it to the intended victim, and these people follow right along, and they're still supporting it 100%. So they're not even supporters of the theory. They're just Tupac assassination groupies. Next, these people Tupac assassination is going to be saying, actually, we dug deeper, and Harry O was the one that had Tupac and Suge Knight shot, and he's such a mastermind that he used Reggie Wright and Sharitha Knight to try to take the fall for him. And then these people that are supporting Tupac assassination now are going to be supporting that change in the theory then too. But anyways, pretty confidently, like they say, Tupac assassination took an idea of what they thought happened and then tried to find evidence to support that theory, which is ass backwards for how an investigation is supposed to work. You're supposed to start with an open mind, look at the evidence you have, and then follow it to where it takes you, and that's where it goes. Okay, but anyways, like I said, you got that evidence right there, and then you got Hussein Fatal, who has said in several interviews that Orlando Anderson was the trigger man. That's what happened to Tupac. It was plain and simple, and if he was there, he wouldn't have even let Tupac be rolling around in the dirt with him, and he would have made sure nothing like that happened. Real quick, one thing I want to throw in real quick before I move on to Gaddafi is, like everyone's all stuck on this gun thing. We already touched on that in the last video. He could have had the gun in the car with him, but that's beside the point. So let me ask you this. They knew that, okay, they could take Michael Moore off of him, Kevin Hackey, Frank Alexander. They could take guns off of him. They could take him away from Tupac. But you're telling me that the shooters, the Patton brothers, they said to Reggie Wright, okay, make sure the security doesn't have guns, but we're perfectly fine with who was it, Neckbone or Heron and Buntry having their gun. Okay, so we're good with the members of the mob Pyru keeping their guns on them. Just make sure security doesn't have theirs. It doesn't make any sense. And just to show you that it really wouldn't have made any difference if Frank did have his gun, probably, is that after the shooting happened, Buntry in his Supra chased the Cadillac and exchanged gunfire with them, and they still got away. So really all it would have taken for someone in the entourage, Frank, whoever, was to be a good witness that night and get a plate or a partial plate. And if they would have been able to get at least a partial plate, they would have had that. They could have had that crime solved in a matter of weeks. You know, they could have tied it back to the rental car in LA. They could have seen who rented it, went, interrogated them, and got down to who was driving the car that night. Okay. Not to mention the hip-hop cop talked to Zip Martin, and he kind of admitted to him in a roundabout way. You know, he kind of hinted, he said, I want to tell you what happened, but I can't. Greg Kading's out here throwing my name around. I want to tell you, but I can't say it. So, you know, Zip kind of admitted to it too. But anyways, back on Hussein Fatal. I know I'm jumping around here. There's just so much shit going on right now, you know, with all this different stuff floating around. Okay, so we got Hussein Fatal admitting that he believes, now obviously he wasn't there, so he doesn't know for sure, but I'm pretty confident in his opinion, and I'm sure that he sat around with the rest of the outlaws and they've had this discussion before, and if he's open about it like this, you know, the rest of them don't talk about it, but I'm sure they kind of feel the same way. But so next, you know, besides Hussein Fatal basically supporting the theory that Orlando Anderson shot him, you know, a lot of people are saying that Hussein Fatal's .40 caliber Glock was the same gun used to kill Tupac. That when he went to the House of Blues, when he went in, he had his gun confiscated from him. You know, the police put him in cuffs or whatever, sat him in the limo, and he had to wait for the show to end before they released him. They didn't take him to jail that night, actually, but they confiscated his gun, and then it went missing from the evidence room. So, you know, there's some people out there saying, well, ballistics match that Hussein Fatal's gun was the same gun that killed Tupac. Let's clear that up right now. They've never tested ballistics on Hussein Fatal's gun and the bullets that killed Tupac because they don't have Hussein Fatal's gun to do ballistics on. Okay, so let me tell you this. This is something else. Not only have they never done ballistics to match them up, all they know is that Hussein Fatal had a .40 caliber Glock and a .40 caliber Glock was used to kill Tupac. There are literally millions of .40 caliber Glocks floating around the United States. Okay, literally millions of .40 caliber Glocks floating around the United States. It's a pretty common handgun. So just because one of the outlaws had their gun confiscated and then it happened to be a .40 caliber that shot and killed him does not mean it was the same gun. That would be like me losing my I had a 9mm and I lose it, and a year from now, a guy that I went to high school with ends up dead from being shot from a 9mm, and everyone says it's me because I own a 9mm. Well, so does every other person in the fucking neighborhood. Okay, so anyway, just to clear that up, ballistics never confirmed that Hussein Fatal's gun was used to kill Tupac. In fact, they just know that they both were .40 caliber Glocks, which is a very common gun. Okay, so next we're going to talk about Gaddafi. I'm going to try to keep this short. I know my videos have been kind of long lately. But the last person with Gaddafi before he died, you know, before he was dropped off at his girl's house, was Hussein Fatal. So Fatal and Gaddafi were both dating two women, all right? And the two women they were dating were good friends as well. So, you know, it was Fatal, his girlfriend, and Gaddafi. And they went to go drop, they were in New Jersey, I think Orange, New Jersey, Orange County or Orange, New Jersey, something like that. But anyways, they went to drop him off at her apartment. I think it was a project housing. But anyways, they went to go drop him off over there. And when they went to drop him off, Fatal said to him as he got out of the car, "You need it?" And he showed him the gun. And Gaddafi said, "No, I'm good." So he went inside. All right, so based on police reports and what his girlfriend says and all this, you know, they're upstairs hanging out, and somebody comes and knocks on the door at, you know, I think it was like 2:33 in the morning, something. It was really late at night. So his girlfriend says that Gaddafi made a joke. You know, she was like, "Who's that?" You know, and he said, "Oh, they're coming to kill me," like joking around. And he went to the door and never came back in. You know, come to find out, they found him at around 3:30 in the morning, slumped in the stairwell with a bullet hole right between his eyes. And they said he was still wearing a bulletproof vest. Okay, so a lot of people are acting like this is an unsolved crime. Nobody knows who killed him. Was this related to Tupac's murder? He was going to speak to investigators and they wanted to silence him. You know, Reggie Wright wanted to cover up his big plan and all this shit. Okay, so, again, Hussein Fatal, Napoleon, other outlaws have talked about this, Young Noble, Edie, again, and all these conspiracy theorists saying fuck the outlaws all of a sudden just because they're in All Eyes on Me. Get off of it. Like, these are grown men now. They're not 18-year-old kids anymore. But anyways, so back to the point. Hussein Fatal said what is known to happen. So, okay, so we do know that it's not an unsolved crime, okay? People were arrested, convicted, and sent to prison for Gaddafi's murder. One of them was Napoleon's cousin. All right, so Napoleon's cousin claims to this day that it was an accident. He didn't mean to shoot him, but others say that it was a dispute over money. Okay, so, you know, obviously, at first, I think he got away with it. They didn't know who did it, and Napoleon knew, and he convinced his cousin. You know, his cousin was feeling guilty. They talked, and he convinced his cousin to turn himself in. So his cousin went, turned himself in. I don't know for sure if he was convicted for murder, manslaughter. You know, I don't know exactly what it was, but I do know that he was convicted. He was sentenced to prison for 10 years, and he paroled, and he got out. So he's no longer in prison, but he was convicted for the death of Gaddafi and sent to prison. Napoleon, the outlaws, Fatal, have all said that Gaddafi's death was the worst situation possible. One of their closest friends killed one of their own. And Fatal said for a while he was looking for him and was going to fuck him up, you know, and shoot him. Or, you know, Fatal and Gaddafi were best friends. So he was pissed and he didn't give a fuck that it was Napoleon's cousin. He was, you know, he was going to find him. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, bottom line, that's beside the point. The bottom line is we do know who killed him. We don't know for sure why. We know that it was either an accident, like his cousin says, which I don't really believe, or it was a dispute over money. But at the end of the day, we know who killed him. They were convicted. They were sent to prison. And the outlaws have said that it has absolutely nothing to do with Tupac's death, that it was a completely unrelated situation. Okay, so, you know, you guys, like I said, this stuff that I'm saying isn't stuff I'm just pulling out of my ass. I'm not pulling it out of thin air. Anything that I'm telling you is Googleable, okay? People want to talk shit. Well, you're not giving any new information. No shit. I'm not a fucking detective. I just do research, and I'm just repeating to people what I've researched and what I've found out. Because a lot of people out there, especially the conspiracy theorists, don't fucking read. They listen to the one little snippet that supports their theory, and they cherry pick things that they want to hear and things they want to, you know, that they want to believe, and then they use those. So all I'm doing is telling you things you can go find for yourself. You can go listen to these interviews. I'm going to post a bunch of links in the information for this video. But I'm just sharing with you what I've researched. So we know that Hussein Fatal's gun was never matched to the bullets that killed Tupac. We know that it was the same type of gun, but the bullets were never matched. It's a very common gun. It's one of the most common guns in the United States. Okay. We also know that Hussein Fatal has said out loud with his words, it's not text that you can read, you can listen to him say in several interviews that Orlando Anderson was the shooter of Tupac. Okay, so we got that. Okay, number 3, we have Napoleon, Hussein Fatal, and other members of the Outlaws confirming that Napoleon's cousin was responsible for his death, that it was an unrelated situation, and it had nothing to do with Tupac's death. Okay, so I just wanted to throw that out there, kind of kill some of this BS that's floating around. You know, people trying to say that Gaddafi was killed because he was going to talk to detectives. Hussein Fatal's gun was used to kill Tupac. and just all this bullshit. And if I remember correctly, I don't know if I'm right on this one. I think I remember reading this or hearing this in an interview. But Gaddafi actually was no longer going to talk to detectives. He initially said he was going to, and then he spoke to David Kenner, who, you know, obviously is the death row Suge Knight's attorney, and, you know, he sought legal counsel before going to talk to detectives, and David Kenner advised him not to, because he knew that if he went to speak to detectives, they were going to talk to him about what happened that night, and he would have to tell the detectives that they were riding around with armed gang members, that there was a fight with Suge Knight, you know, kicked Orlando Anderson, and David Kenner was basically looking out for Suge and didn't want Suge to get his parole violated and sent to prison. So he had, at that point, I believe, had already talked Gaddafi out of speaking to investigators anyways. But anyways, you know, that's pretty much it. You know, it's been a little over a week since I made a video. I'm going to try to make some more frequently. I'm not going to make all of them about Tupac's death. I'm going to touch on some, you know, random other stuff about Tupac, his life, his involvement in different things. But I just wanted to make a video. It had been a few weeks, and I've seen some stuff about Gaddafi floating around and Fatal. So, you know, like I said, everybody that wants to talk shit on this page, keep it coming. But let me tell you this. You'll do yourself a favor if you follow this advice right here. You're not changing any minds. You're not proving anything when you sit there and you just say, you don't know shit. You don't know shit. Well, tell me what I'm wrong about. Instead of just telling me I don't know shit and I'm wrong, why don't you debate? Why don't you tell me what I'm wrong about and tell me what information you know that I don't know so that you can inform me? You know, that's how you inform each other. That's how you come to the conclusion, because I don't think that either one has solved it 100%. Don't get me wrong. I believe murder rap in the sense of, I don't even want to say I believe murder rap. I believe that Orlando Anderson was the shooter, and I believe Keefe D is telling the truth. I don't know if I believe Puffy paid $1 million and all that shit. You know, I don't know if I believe that, but I do believe that they jumped on Orlando Anderson and he retaliated and killed Tupac. You know, that's what I believe. I've believed it for over 20 years now. I believed it before murder rap came out. So people saying, no, you're a murder rap groupie and all this shit. Me and other people have been believing this shit 15 years before murder rap was even a book. So that's not what it is. That's just what I've always believed. Okay, so now once Keefe D came out and verbally told the story of what happened, obviously that kind of solidified my belief. But anyways, so in the comments, if you don't agree with this video, you don't like this video, let's have a discussion. Let's talk about it. Tell me what I'm wrong about, and let's talk about it. There's no, you sitting here talking shit on my page doesn't do anything but get your ass blocked. You know, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm not sitting here, I don't have to do, you know, I'm too grown for this shit. I'm not going to sit here and fight with you on my page, you know. So anyways, click like, click subscribe below. Let's try to keep it positive from now on, and let's just try to keep it positive. So click like, click subscribe. I'm going to be posting some more videos soon, and yeah, I'll see y'all in the next video.